In the midst of this crisis that's erupted between India and the US, it might be an idea to hear from Raymond Vickery, former Assistant Secretary for Commerce in the US government, who particularly oversaw trade and tariff issues with India, who really has spent years and decades building up an economic relationship between the US and India. And so, Ray, does the US government position appear unreasonable and unjustified, as the Indian government says, or do you find it reasonable and justified?
Well, I think the whole Trump tariff effort is unreasonable and unjustified. It's a huge, huge mistake for President Trump and his administration to combine the question of trade with Russia about oil with the question of overall tariffs. There are verities and issues and factors which are very, very different in terms of what Trump may view as a trade deficit and what is going on with Russia and Ukraine. And to throw those all into the same basket and come out with a 50% tariff is egregious and unreasonable.
We are on a slippery, oily slope here. Is there a resolution on the oil imports issue that works for India?
There's no doubt in my mind that the Russian invasion of Ukraine is one of the most egregious breaches of international law, breaches of the UN Charter. It is one of the most outstanding 21st century examples of imperialism, all of which India has historically been against and been a leader. In regard to energy, there are a lot of different solutions. India is getting some benefit out of the Russian oil, but not nearly the benefit that many have represented. And the price advantage that India has gotten has been really quite marginal when you compare it with Indian GDP or even its own capital account.
But the Trump administration has made no move against China that imports a lot more oil from Russia than does India.
But President Trump thinks that he can make this great deal with Xi. And that somebody will award him the Nobel Peace Prize for that or something else, and he'll do it that way. So he's holding off. But make no mistake about it, the man is not to be depended on in regard to any kind of relationship negotiation because he views them all as a transaction. And if Xi doesn't come to the table and try to flatter him and do what some others like Pakistan have done, that is to flatter him and say that he's going to be able to hold up a great triumph, he'll turn on Xi the same way, because he has an unlimited egomaniac's view of his ability to control events.
The Indian government has spoken of this red line over import of agricultural produce and particularly dairy produce from the US, because the Indian government says this will be devastating to the lives and livelihoods of millions of farmers. Now, is that a concern that you see as valid, or the US could or should see as valid?
What it does show is a complete misunderstanding or lack of understanding by President Trump and his administration of India, of India's needs, of where it is in terms of economic development, what the cultural considerations are in regard to dairy specifically. I don't think President Trump understands any of that. I don't think he cares about any of that.
India and the US have been moving forward on strategic ties. Could that continue, or would you say that a continuation of that in the present circumstances would be unrealistic?
I think it's unrealistic. I think that economic engagement and security matters are joined at the hip. We have common strategic interests, and those will carry on for a while, in part because the militaries of both sides get along so well and have done so many joint operations. India now has more joint exercises militarily with the United States than with any other country in the world. So that's going to will have a momentum and carry on for a while. But you cannot sustain that relations when the nations are separate and you operate in a fortress America mentality economically.
Been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.